Okay, people. So today I am delighted to be joined by Luke Angus, who, things are, he's made an icy little short film, let's say, but things seem to be looking pretty golden for you right now, Luke.
Nice.
So thank you for joining the podcast, my friend. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me on here.
No problem at all, man. So, Oscar shortlisted short film.
Well, so
How
the
did that
Oscars,
feel?
Oscars was the crazy one because the Oscars was, I got the shortlist, but then didn't make the final step to be on. I don't know how the Oscars has the categories different to the BAFTAs, where the Oscars has, they call it the shortlist, which is I think the 113 films that are
Yeah, it's not really a
shortlisted.
short list.
No, it's quite a long short list. And then for the actual nominations, which is technically a short list now, I didn't make that step. So those short films have been announced. But then the BAFTAs, they have what they call the long list, which is 6 films. That's their long list. And then of those, 3 of them get nominated, which is technically the short list. So I'm now officially nominated for a BAFTA as one of those 3 final films. So that whole process of trying to know where I was standing at all these announcements happening, and I was like, what does this mean? And trying to look it up, like, how many is that a big deal? I think so. Yeah, it's so crazy. Finding out the BAFTA long list was one thing. I was expecting to go there and find something similar to the Oscars one.
Yeah.
But then to see it was only 6 films and I'm one of the 6, and that was incredible already. And then the further announcement of finding out of those 6, I made the final 3 to get the nomination was unbelievable. But yeah, it's a fun learning process.
I think, yeah, like a lot of these things don't always necessarily make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And
It seems like
especially you've got 6 on your long list.
Mm-hmm.
To go to 3, that's a very short.
Very short. I know. I think like I've protected myself this whole process in terms of hope and expectation for this film, where I'm constantly every step of the way telling myself, like, I'm just happy to be here, and I really mean it. I'm just happy to be wherever I'm at, and then the next step, like, I progress and get further down the line, and I'm already again, I'm like, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy, and I never look ahead. I'm trying not to, at least, to be like, maybe I can do this, and maybe I can get the next step. But when you're on the last 3, it's the first stage where I finally felt like maybe I could do this. Like, there's only 3 films. Like, it's only, like, even just statistically, I've got pretty good odds of just, if it was a random luck of a draw, I would feel the odds are pretty good. So yeah, so it's the first time I felt like, wow, every other category in the BAFTAs has, like, 10 films or something. And I think if I was a BAFTA nominee with 9 other films in my category, I would definitely think, there's no chance. There's 9 other films, so I'm not going to win. But it's just hard to not imagine it when you've just got 2 others, and the other 2 films are both absolutely incredible. So I'm aware of the competition being very high, but it's just, again, statistically, I'm like, they must like it to some extent to put me in this position.
Oh, of course. I mean, how could they not? But the big thing here, Luke, is the names of the other 2 films. So we could always Tonya Harding those people. You know what I mean?
You know what? Between you and me and everyone listening to this podcast, if only this wasn't on a public broadcast, we could have gotten away with this. Yeah, we'll go guerrilla. We'll go. It's a good idea.
Just little accidents, it could happen to anyone.
Yeah, I like your thinking. We'll talk after this.
Okay.
I don't want to say this. If anything happens, they're gonna find this podcast. Those 2 guys. But let the record know it doesn't matter to me that much.
Oh man. For something, it's funny, right? Because in the press notes, it says the process took around 4 years to make this short film, right? It's just under 10 minutes.
Yeah, 11 actually, just over 10 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, it is. But that's a load of time for something that short. But
I know.
I think once you watch it, right, the emotion, the joy it brings you, I mean, that is so apparent, right? It just, you are able to hit all the notes. So then getting to this point and having that recognition from the BAFTAs, from the Oscars, from all of these other places, that must really help the confidence, like the emotions when on this journey, because I can imagine there must have been times when you're just like, yo, is this going to get done? How are people going to feel once it is done?
Yeah, it is, honestly, because I made it by myself. So the 4-year timeline is partly for that reason. It's not really advised to sort of make an animated film, especially by yourself. It's such a time-consuming process already. And there was along that journey, a lot of times where I'm just paranoid that I won't finish it, because you're always at the sort of whim and you're at the beck and call of your own motivation to do it. That's the thing driving you, and you're worried that I don't always know why I feel so motivated to do it and why I have this excitement to make it, but I'm always worried it can be taken away at any point. It might, whatever reason, something might happen. It might find something else that excites me more, and I'll no longer have that motivation. And I'm always worried that'll happen. And it can happen. It can sort of ebb and flow with like how excited I am to, or enthusiastic I am to get up and work on it, that I'm just so worried that I'll, get 2 years in and get bored and stop making it, and then resent the final half of the process or something like that. So anyway, you're always worried. That's one issue you have, is just worrying you'll run out of steam and burn out, and then you put all this work in for nothing. So luckily that didn't happen, and I was able to keep going for the 4 years on and off, but like pretty consistently on. And then got the film over the line and finished it. And the other thing with making it by yourself is you've got no idea what anyone's going to think of it. When you finish making it, you put it out into the world, and you just have to sort of see how it is received and see how it goes. But it's sort of like a gamble. I mean, at that point, I was proud of it and I was happy with what I had made. And, I really do mean it when I say that is what's important. Like, if you think you've made something good and you're happy about it and you're happy with it, just put it out there. Then if people love it too, there'll be people that love it too if you love it. So that seems to be what's happening, and it seems to be being received. I mean, beyond anything I've made before. I've made short films in the past, and they do quite well, just like at sort of festivals and pick up some awards, but not at this level. This is something else.
I think there's a big thing right there. It's just making things that feel right for you, because I think when you're trying to go, oh well, last year this was successful, so let me try and make something like that. Oh, at the moment this is very popular, so oh, I need to mention social media. Oh, I need to mention this. I need to put this in. When you try and do all of those things, you kind of get this husk with no soul. You know what I mean?
And I think when you're making it by yourself, to me it's one of the purest forms of filmmaking. If you can, it's hard, but it's like there's a couple of things that you benefit from it. In that, one of which is like I've got no external body with ulterior motives or some agenda, like a funding body that's trying to promote something, or working towards a network that allows you to only do this or that, or you can't say this, you can't do this, whatever it is. I have no other agenda other than just like telling my story however I can. Another thing is just like it's one voice, it's me. It's not like multiple, like 10 different execs or big multiple directors all chipping in and writing different things and kind of washing out a little bit of an idea. So I really like the fact that when you watch this, it's like, this is just my brain. This is just me and no one else. So that I like about it. I mean, obviously there's people, my wife is very close to me with the writing process. I'm often up at night trying to think through an idea, and I'm just talking it out, and she'll throw some ideas out, and she's very good at that. And maybe some other voices here and there, but for a 4-year process, you're kind of a long process to just do it by yourself. But I do love the lack of sort of external influence in a sort of solo filmmaker, like for the reason that you said about like, it being this like husk of a thing that is with no soul, and just this it's, you know, that there was no agenda for this other than just making an idea, and you had it, and it was, you've completed something that you had in your head. You've got out your head onto the screen, and then you put it out into the world, and hopefully people like it.
Yeah, I mean, there is so much heart in this story, right? And I think all of the emotions come through so clearly, even though there's no dialogue, right? So how did this piece of work, this look of grief and loss and, you know, memories, right? How did this come to you?
Oh, it was tough. I mean, it's like a lot of things where you don't always know the exact origin of some of your ideas. They're kind of amalgamations of like various influences that have had on you, and you kind of, sometimes things just appear in your head, and it feels like that just appeared in your head, but it's obviously from multiple factors all having been stewing back there. Then something clicks and they all piece together, and then they feed you your brain this idea. You're like, oh, cool, that's a good idea. And yeah, for me, that seed was the ending of the film, the sort of his conclusion to his resolution to his problem, which I won't spoil for anyone. That was the ending, and I knew it was the ending. I was like, I don't know what this film is, but I need to get to that ending, that idea.
Right.
And so that was the first part, and then everything sort of grew backwards from knowing that, and be like, okay, that's the ending. How do I get there? Why does the character need to do that? Why are they so determined to get to that position, and what's caused that? So you're just working backwards from there, and then adding the sort of love interest, and having lost someone was such a natural like motivator for quite a radical act at the end. And so yeah, it was a really nice way of writing, which, you know, if I had the privilege to always have the ending from the start of the writing process, I would always choose to have that. It's such a rewarding way to write, because everything is in service of that ending. When I'm writing, I can always have my eye at the end to be like, oh, I'll say something early on here, which will reference back, you know. Yeah, so when you know the ending, the rest of the story can become a lot stronger, and yeah, always pointing towards that moment. And then that moment can feel like you can earn it. And yeah, so it's hard to say the exact how that idea arrived at my head, but it just did. And then I was like, I mean, it needed some tweaking and some adjustments, but there was definitely a moment where in a flash I had that vision and that idea, and I wrote it down and then developed the whole thing from there.
No, but you're right. Sometimes these things just pop into your head, and it's kind of like, did you see something earlier in the day?
Exactly,
did you hear something? Is this an original thought? Like, where did this come from? And
exactly. You're paranoid, but you just seen it on a movie the other day, and you're like,
I know the amount of time. Like, there was one time I was in the shower, and suddenly I'm just like, oh my God, I'm gonna become a millionaire. I'm just like, imagine, like, I could invent something where you can just take music wherever you go. I'm just like, no one's ever thought of that. And I'm like, yes. And then I look down and I see my iPod. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me?
Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs.
That's not an original thought, you idiot.
Yeah.
Sometimes you wonder. But then, yeah, when you've got that original thought, that nugget, that you're just like, oh shit, this could be something.
There's something here. Yeah, you can tell. Yeah.
But then it's the process of mining that, right? Refining, making everything add up. So how was that for you? Like, coming with the rest of that story, was it one of those kind of logical things that you go, okay, all right, so boom, let's have this, and then the ideas just kind of
I think some of it you have to. What's hard about writing like that is you do have limitless options to an extent, but like it does always feel a bit like scary to commit to something because suddenly you're closing a door to a lot of other things, and you have to sort of, you do have to sort of focus your attention for a while on an idea, even if at first you're not totally sure it's right. You just have to be like, okay, let me try writing this version first and see how it feels. Once I flesh it out and tweak it and adjust it. One such example of that is before I had the idea of her, the main character losing a partner, and that being like who he's like waiting to return and who he's longing for. I had the idea that his love towards the night sky and waiting for the night sky to return was based on the constellations that he would watch. So the classic constellations like Orion and Taurus and Aries, and he would look at them in the sky, and he would like his winter, it was like he was a lonely Inuit, and the winter, the constellation would keep him company, and they would come to life, and he would have these adventures and these, he would have his normal daily routines, but with these characters in the sky keeping him company. But there was no like love interest. There was no like there was nothing deeper than that. It was just like a companionship for these characters in the sky that kept him company. But it just didn't have that emotional punch, that like the strong enough reason to like sacrifice something for these characters. And it wasn't quite right, but it was a fun story to be like, oh, these constellations in the sky keep him company through the winter months. Anyway, but then I had to like commit to, I had to wrote every scene of like all these different like constellations and all the characters, and what if you're doing a montage with him, like with Aries, he might be, or like with Taurus, he might go like sledding, and Taurus is like pulling him along in the sled as the bull, or he might go like hunting with Orion, and like you have Orion in the stars with this like spear, and then he's hunting with, and you can line them up on the horizon so that the Orion is on the horizon line and he's standing. And then I wrote this whole montage of every one of the sort of constellations, and a sort of little gag kind of idea of what he could do with them in terms of like how we would play or how they would interact. But then after all that writing and all that, I was like, no, this doesn't really have it. It's not really sitting right. There's something not quite like that. Again, in service to that ending, it wasn't justified enough. That ending wasn't justified enough based on these characters that he was interacting with. It felt like a sort of, I don't know, passing friendship, and it was fine, but it wasn't deep enough. I had another idea of him. It was actually, he had him and his mother. So he was like he used to look at the stars with his mum, and then his mum passed away, and then he used to look up at the star, and that was what he was like seeing his mum in the stars. But that felt strange to sort of, at the end, the decision he makes is quite sort of sacrificial, and he locks himself out from the world to be with this person forever. And for that person to be your mum felt a bit like, oh, that's not quite right. You shouldn't really, that, it's like that again wasn't quite landing right. So again, it was always looking at that ending and getting to that point, and then it can seem obvious when you watch the film, like the final sort of decisions that were made seem obvious because they are. But when you're writing and you've got nothing, you've just got an empty page, and you're trying to get that stuff out, it's so difficult. I think it's something that's not really appreciated for maybe people starting writing or coming up with ideas that things can seem obvious until you actually try and write them, and then you realize all the cracks and what's missing.
I think that is the big thing, right? Isn't it? Because people can hear a story or, see a short film, an animated film, or like whatever, and think that's kind of basic. That's, that, I mean, that's logical. Like, it's not very complex. To write that story, it's
I know.
It's not an easy thing, right? Writing anything, because as you said, you can have an idea. You can go, yes, and he's looking at Orion and boom, boom, boom. And you can have an idea and think, that sounds okay.
Yeah.
And so many things sound okay, but they don't always just hit you, what I mean? You in the soul, where you just go, oh my days, that's the one.
Yeah. I think also like our minds have a way of like, when we tell a story in our head, and when I mean a story, I mean like anything, like the human ability to just like write a narrative, to like, you look out the window and someone's taking their bins out, you might in your head you form a narrative of why they're doing, like it's bin day or blah, 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 and you've got a whole story as to what's happening. You don't really realize you're doing it, but your brain does it all the time. It does it all the time. It writes these little stories and little narratives that kind of make the world make sense. And I think when you're writing, when you're forcing your brain to fill in all the details of those, you start to realize, oh wait, actually that doesn't make any sense. How did you get it? Made sense in the sort of wide, in the sort of vague realm of the story and the sort of blurry vision of the story. But when you force your brain to put that onto a page and write it down, you so quickly realize like there's holes in it. This doesn't make sense. This isn't quite. And I think it's a good exercise for anyone who thinks they've got a million ideas and they think they've got all these brilliant stories in their head. I think you probably do, but I think try and write them down from start to finish. Yes. And realize maybe you'll start to see there are some little holes in it or some things that need work. And it's so often the case. I've got a notepad with like hundreds of short film ideas. And all they are is a little sentence or two nugget of something there. I haven't really fleshed it out yet, but I know there's something there. And that's the big step. That's the first step, is having that something, which is what Solstice had for the ending. But then the work required to sort of pull out the story from that is the 90% of the exercise.
Yeah, because I think when you have those ideas, right, a lot of times you have the ligaments to that story in your head, in your memory, right? So you write it down, so you'd be like, oh, that's perfect. Oh, that's so funny. That makes so much sense. And you write it down without that connective tissue, people are just going to be like, wait, what? Yeah, so it's kind of like you need that. The thing that works is the thing that works without that connective tissue, without those ligaments, you know what I mean? And so it's finding things that can work for everyone, and they don't always have to be in your head to be like, oh, right. So when he does that, he's referencing that thing that happened to him in 2019 when he saw this thing. It just needs to work on its own legs.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it's not easy. It's not an easy thing. So being able to do what you've done here is, oh man, it's so good. It's so freaking good, right?
Thank you.
And I think the other big thing, I'm not always a fan of mood music, but all the music works really well. Even like the music that plays to kind of signify the passing of days. You go, yeah, days are passing, right? Like it all feeds, and the music works hand in hand with what we're seeing on the screen, right? So did you always think about the score when writing, going, okay, so I think this works, but I need to be very thoughtful on what's playing at the time? Or
I think when you're writing something without dialogue, you've got so many tools that you can use to sort of tell the story, and music is obviously such a crucial part. And so I don't necessarily, when I'm writing, I don't necessarily have a score in my head yet, because when I'm writing, I still don't really have the tone of the film until the end of writing, where I'm like, okay, I think I know what, like, you know, whether it was about these constellations in the sky or whether it was about the loss of a partner, it's a very different tone, and it's therefore different music. So you don't really have that answer, at least I don't, until I finish writing and I start to piece together some storyboards and an animatic, and I've got a flow of the edit, and I can see the various like chapters appearing and like the acts that are sitting there. And, you know, you've obviously got your sort of character's journey from start to finish that you're trying to match in terms of tone. But then music, when I write, I usually quite early put in some temp tracks in there that are just a few that are close enough, and I chuck them in the edit. But yeah, there's a lot of challenges with, it's a lot of pressure, I would say, for music when there's no dialogue, because it is providing such a crucial element of your film to tell the story, to tell, set the pace, set the tone. And I tried a new technique with this film, which I hadn't done in the past. In the past, I've had some original scores written, which are quite kind of literal to the actions on screen, where they're just like following almost like to the beat of, like, you know, looks at something and he's sad, so it has a little like flourish in the music that's sad, and he, you know, it's all following the action sort of kind of classic sort of old Disney style. This one I thought is a much more of a, I basically sourced 3 artists whose music I loved and who felt had a sort of similar language with their music, but they were completely separate. And I licensed a few of their tracks, and then with the stems of their, I mixed them all together basically as that's what you hear in the film. They're actually 3 different artists with with a compilation of some of their music basically mixed together. And so it's difficult to find those 3 artists who shared something in so the music, the instruments they were using, or the sort of style, but at the same time, it needs to feel cohesive and not these disjointed tracks or pieces that are shoved together. But yeah, like you're saying, the time passing sequence in that montage, there's a particular piece that plays there, which is a bit more like, I don't want to say atonal, but it's got some more abstract elements that sneak in and give that feeling of like dissatisfaction. He's in the longest time of his year. He hates this time. He sat by himself along and he's being dragged out. So you have the music is like some slightly more abstract there. But yeah, I mean, that's a whole journey you go on down the path of music. That it's a lot of pressure on it. You need it. It's carrying a lot of weight. But I mean, at the same time as well, it could completely ruin your film if you've spent all this time on all that. Or, most of my time is spent on the visual. Then if you don't, if the music fumbles at the end, it can detract from everything you've done, which is a scary power that it holds.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's plenty of things that I've watched and I've just thought, the music's a bit heavy-handed here, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's too on the nose. Like, it just doesn't seem to fit, for me, that is. Like, you know what I mean? Because I think that's it. Sometimes it's just the emotional impact something has on you as a person, and it might work perfectly for other people, but music it's one of those weird things that can invoke so many different things, and that emotion can be so different for everyone. Like, at this point, do you think that after making several films and everything like that you are confident in your understanding of the relationship with the film and music, so making those choices has become easier?
I think in this instance, it was the first time I felt more in control of the music, but only because in the past I'd often handed over my film to a composer to write for me. And would come back and I would have notes and tweak certain things here and there, but it was definitely out of my hands. I wasn't the one even coming up with the tone. I would sort of set a vague parameters here and there, whereas this film felt like I was in charge, at least, of sourcing all the music and structuring it and piecing it together, which felt, it was nice to just have that element of control. But yeah, I think it was nice to know this option existed for like how I created this music. And I think it was, I mean, I'm really, really happy with the reception that the music has had with its, like, people have noted the score, which is a relief for me, having sort of taken a risk on trying this new technique. But I think with my own projects, I'm always looking to just try something new. So whether I would have something that totally different than the next one, the film before, I had an original song written for it, which was nice. It was the big climax of the film was like with lyrics, and it was a song written, it was a beautiful song written by Gary Ferrier and sung by Ewan Marie. So that was something, just trying something different. And I was like, maybe the next film I would just try something completely different again, just like go really abstract with it, and it's all disjointed, atonal, like, because my next film is quite a bit darker and a bit more ambiguous. So there's something there that you have to explore. You just have to do whatever's right for the project. I suppose that's what I'm saying, is whatever the project sort of demands or you feel like would be right for that project. So to set one thing as an idea from the get-go isn't smart. I think wait and see what the project, especially when you're mid-project, maybe towards the end, mid to end, you start to get an idea of where it's going, and you're pretty sure if this is the tone of something, you can start to look into the music. Actually, for my next film, an idea I had been toying with, again, in terms of just like trying something new, was to have the music written first and have someone write a piece of music that is, you know, let's say 7 minutes long. If I know roughly my next film is, I've blocked out a very, very basic storyboard path, and I know it's going to be give or take 6 or 7 minutes. Tell the composer the beats of the film. Tell them like first act minute, we've got intro, character, blah, 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 like very vague. 2 to 3 minutes, we've got something mysterious happens. Don't tell them. Just say something mysterious happens and it gets a bit strange. And the final 2 minutes is this big climax, and then have them write a piece of music which matches that structure, and then edit my film to that music. And I'd be curious. You've got the bones there, and they're setting the pace. But I have the filmmaker now. I just think that sounded fun to me, as I never heard someone doing that before. So try it out and experiment with something like that. And anyway, it was just an idea I've been playing with, and I thought that'd be an interesting way to sort of make a film, structure a film, and try something different. But again, it's just all based on the project and what it wants and what it needs. But yeah.
I mean, that does sound interesting. I mean, that sounds like it could just be a documentary in itself, right?
Yeah.
Because that's an interesting. I think I spoke to someone that got music done first. I can't quite remember, but it is one of those things that people don't usually do it that way, right?
Sure,
the norm is you get the music done afterwards, or even, as you say, you've got a lot of the scene shot and you have that, then get the music, but not before everything else. So
yeah, because it could only maybe work in a short film shot. You couldn't have someone write a feature length score and then make a movie. So I think because a short film is so concise, and you can maybe give it the DNA of like the pacing, maybe it's all you would need to do. And then as a filmmaker, it would be a fun challenge, like, oh, the music gets really weird here and like crazy and abstract, or has a big climax in this exact moment. Let me try and like, I have to write something here for that moment, or something like that. I think that could be cool. I know there's a story of Chris Nolan and Hans Zimmer, and for Interstellar, he didn't tell him it was a sci-fi. He just said, I need to write, can you write me a piece of music about a father saying goodbye to his daughter, and he might not see her again. I can't remember the story. He told him the story of Interstellar without the sci-fi elements, and then he had Hans Zimmer write something, and that's why we've got this like organ, which is a very non-traditional instrument for sci-fi, a sort of church organ, but it, famously is, I mean, one of the best modern pieces of film score I can think of. And yeah, but it was for that reason. He didn't want to tell him it's a sci-fi, and then you've got the sort of like classic X-Files sci-fi noises. Not that he would have done that, but like, you could go very traditional like synth sci-fi. But yeah, not telling the composer the genre it was a clever trick to like push him in a direction that he might not have thought of. And getting this church organ driving a sci-fi film is just so powerful, and it's so effective.
Well, I think it's that thing, right? Because a lot, like, we all have those crutches that we lean on sometimes with certain things, right? So it's just like, if you go, oh yeah, sci-fi, horror, whatever it is, you're like, okay, so for that to work, I mean, the usual thing would be this, so I use this, right? Exactly. And it's just like, does it have to though? Right? Like, it doesn't have to. So
I think it's sorry.
No, it's cool.
No, I think it's something that's like you get with confidence. I felt it, at least, that the less I feel like I have to prove, like when you're starting out, you kind of just want to make a film that feels like a film, and it feels like it's safe, and it's like I'm trying to do is sort of blend in, because I don't want to stand out for bad reasons. I don't want to make a bad film and therefore stand out, and it's like, oh, this is an amateur film. So you're trying to just like match what they do in the movies, and you're trying to match so that you can. I think that's how I feel. I think the more you sort of prove yourself, like making more and more of these films, and you can prove that you can do the classic, you can do the like the expected, and it can sit amongst other films and be like, yeah, that's a good film, that's good, all good. Then you start to feel like, all right, let me just try and make some. I've proven I can do the normal. Let me try and like, it's like Picasso. Like Picasso didn't start as Picasso. He started doing like beautiful like photorealistic life drawing, and but it like took him unlearning all of that to try and do Picasso, what we know. But you wouldn't, if you started out like that, you would just be a terrible artist. Well, argument there, but like, but it's like, I think for himself, maybe he had to prove he could do the sort of perfect and the like traditional before he has the bravery or the like freedom to do something different and that we hadn't seen, which is what you get remembered for. And I think that's an exciting. I feel like I'm starting to. I mean, I felt it with Solstice where I felt like I was trying to go against the grain with a lot of ideas and thoughts, rather than with it. But I already feel that excitement for like my next one to do something even more like different and out there and try and make decisions that people might not necessarily think of and trying to do things a bit differently. And but yeah, it takes experience. I think maybe it's just for my own sake, but from my point of view, it takes me feeling like I've proven myself in a certain regard, and now I can do something else and try something riskier.
Well, I think it's that thing, and art, that's a really good kind of reference point, right? But I think anything creative, it's like when you are doing it at school or something in those early stages, you're told, oh no, you're meant to do it like this, and it's meant to look like this or sound like this, or stand like this, right? It's just, I just remember doing art at school, and like, so at one point the teacher loved me and my friends, and then all of a sudden she hated us, and everything we did was shit. And it was just,
what happened?
oh, you're never gonna be an artist. And then you'd go to a gallery, and you'd see like a Warhol, a Kandinsky, you know what I mean? And you're just like, how the fuck are we saying that's great, but what I did is bullshit? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And it's kind of like, you could be Michael Gondry out the gate, right? And do something like Eternal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind, being John Malkovich, and people will go, what the fuck is this? Because there's no reference point, right? Like, there's nothing. And so straight away it's just like, well, that's just too weird. Like, they don't understand storytelling. You have to you have to lay that foundation, so people are like, oh, we know that they can do this thing, and then you go, boom, this is who I really am. And then you show them that creativity, and because now they've been on that journey with you, they understand the classical ways of doing things.
And even like, from the viewer's point of view, I think as a viewer, I don't even necessarily need to know about the filmmaker's journey. Like, I, for 90% of my life, only saw Picasso as Picasso. I only saw Michael Gondry's, Eternal Sunshine and Science of Sleep, and those like more abstract what their style is. But I know that the artist had to be on a journey to get there. Like, they would have made more traditional things, but I don't think you need it. I don't think the viewer requires knowledge of that journey to enjoy the end goal. I just think from a filmmaker's point of view, it's hard to make that more defining style without your own I think to me it's just about the sort of courage to do it and their own like freedom to do it, because you've proven yourself that you can do the classics. And it's an interesting journey. I feel like Solstice was definitely a moment for me where I felt a lot more free and didn't feel like I had to prove anything. Like, what I love something about Solstice is the expectation that if you're living in months of daylight and months of darkness, sort of in the Arctic Circle, where the sun doesn't rise for many months and doesn't set for many months, you would expect the sun rising and the sun returning in the summer months to be the joyous, like, celebration. Like, finally the sun rises, and that's this big triumphant moment, and that's what he's waiting for. But to like subvert that and be like, no, flip it. Like, he's waiting for the night, he's waiting for the winter and the night sky and the beauty of the stars, and like that. I think that was such a great like little subversion of expectation, which is I think I was quite proud of that as a sort of someone who I come from the west coast of Scotland, where we have dark skies and, you know, incredible night skies in the winter where you can see the Milky Way and like endless like canvas of stars. And I think a lot of people don't maybe appreciate that if you come from a city and you don't realize what the night sky can be. And I like that like celebration in this film to be like, no, let's celebrate the winter, not the summer, and the beauty of the winter. And obviously what in the story, what comes with that, which is, you know, his partner and sort of reuniting with his partner. But yeah, it's always trying to think of those ideas that are trying to like maybe flip what you might expect a little bit and make it work. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that is the big thing, right? Isn't it? Because I just remember like going surfing in Cornwall and at nighttime just being outside and you just see the stars and everything, and you're just like, yo, you forget, right? You're in the city,
we're a ball of rock in space.
Yeah, and you're not seeing all of that. So you go and you go, yo, something's weird's happened to the sky. What's going on?
Wrong. Yeah. Well, in Scotland, we have the nice dark skies in the countryside. The problem is we also have a lot of clouds. So it's just getting a night with no clouds that's the trick.
Yeah, there is that. You know, the other thing that kind of jumped to my mind when watching this was kind of like it's that thing where you are just willing for the night, because at nighttime that's when you dream, so you can be with your memories. You know what I mean? Like the day is, you know what I mean, that's the beast, that's the thing that you want to chase away, because now you're awake and those memories aren't as vivid, maybe. So it's like the nighttime is what you are holding on to, because you can be with that person, you can be with those memories,
and there is something about the daylight shining a light, and you're not able to hide behind anything. You're just in this, it's all fully lit, exposed. There's no imagination, there's no doubt in any, it's all just there to see. Whereas night does have this element of like what you're saying about dreams and like darkness and shadows, and it's a lot more like your imagination can start to play a part in your daily life, and your it does feel like it matches the sort of in the film as well. With this is the time where he's able to sort of imagine his partner returned, you know, as constellations in the stars. But it makes sense for that to happen in the winter, in the darkness, and this where it feel like that suits tonally more than the summer would.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like with this, because you're in Scotland, so why Inuit? Like, how did you get to that?
You know, it's funny, that one actually came quickly, only because with the idea was always that there's a character who is longing for the star to return, and the ending being what it is. Again, I'm trying not to spoil it, but like, it basically, the story required it to be in the Arctic Circle for this many months of daylight, many months of darkness, which already as a constraint on his world, I just thought was such a fun playground for a story, like such a unique setting that not many of us have ever experienced, to go and live somewhere where the sun doesn't rise for months at a time. And so naturally, you're looking at cultures that live in the Arctic Circle. It's Inuit cultures, and you know, build igloos that are dome-shaped structures, which was necessary for the ending. So yeah, it was very natural, and then more of a case of like researching Inuit culture around the world and realizing there isn't really such a thing as one Inuit culture. There's just many Inuit sort of tribes and cultures and societies. So yeah, and then sort of finding what my story needed, and trying to find that balance of, and then notice that the first thing that sort of stood out to me as something was consistent among all these Inuit societies across the world was their like clothing, and there's incredible like head to toe covered in fur, but always these little faces like poking out of this incredible like furry furry hood. And so that was one thing I took from and really put it into this, and sort of front and center as the character design was that big, massive fur hood with a little face poking out. Yeah.
So yeah, there was, yeah, like, were there a lot of conversations with like Inuit elders and that kind of thing to understand that culture, to kind of get those things? Because I thought the hook thing, like when you see it, oh, that makes so much sense, right? Yeah. But it's not something that I've come across. So it's like seeing certain things like the rock, like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I would not want to try it, right? I would just think, just because that bit's cool, what about the bit before that bit? Like,
I gotta walk across. Yeah, I know. Yeah, so a lot of this, the balance that you're trying to walk here is communicating your story. You've got the idea, and you're trying to tell it visually as clearly as possible, and also being true to sort of certain cultures and ideas. And tracking of time is not a big thing, and you can imagine in your societies not needing to know if it's 12:30 or if it's 1 o'clock. It's like tracking the sun is like the ways that you kind of imagine it traditionally done. But in my film, this character needed to track time. He needed to know when the day was coming that he was waiting for. So I had to sort of invent this system. And so I do have this, like, I'm trying to think of what I had, like many options, some of which were drawing from more parallels, tracking the sun. And I had a board where the sun would come through a hole in the igloo and track it. That when the light would hit the board, it would be in a slightly different place every day, which I liked, but it confused some of the other plots in the film. And also visually, it wasn't quite as clear as where I ended with the idea I ended up with. So what we have in the film is a bit of wood that he's nailed, little nails and pins in this board, and every day he moves the fish hook along one day just so he can track. Every time the sun returns to the same place in the sky, he can move the fish hook one day. And visually, that's very good for the viewer to just see a day has passed. You can very clearly mark that occasion. So that was something that I just needed. This specific character, he specifically needed to track time, where that's not a big thing in those societies. The other one, so yeah, tracking. I mean, venturing across ice sheets. There's many techniques that are used to just basically test the safety of the ice. You have these amazing clips of them going with, they often just have a spear in front of them and poking at the ice in front and seeing, and then they can be like weighted objects thrown into certain areas to test their strength. And it's just drawing on that, and then having a very simplified, like, he just has his little, he lives next to this little like alcove of rocks and stuff, and he can gather rocks there. And then when he has to go on this expedition to go and he has to go and collect firewood, which is another story point. So he has to go and get firewood to come back to, but another big part of Inuit society is a lot of Inuit societies don't live near a tree line, because obviously by the nature of Arctic Circle, they're not near a tree line. But again, I had the story of like needing to go and get something and come back. And that was in my story was like this crucial element. Inuit societies either don't cook their food, and it's just they'll eat raw or preserved, and or they'll cook with like fats and oils from like animal fats and those sort of things. But there are societies that use firewood and cook in that sense. There's Inuit and there's Yupik as well, to different societies. But you're sort of drawing on all these things. You're doing the research and looking into them, and you're seeing what your story needs. And I didn't want to also suggest that there was one Inuit society that I'm pulling from. It's like by definition of the story and the location, it was in the Arctic Circle. But I didn't want to make the focus of the film be a cultural film about, and to be about that. It was just like a sort of backdrop of the film and the society.
Yeah, it is one of those interesting things. Like when I just remember like growing up, like we were saying Eskimo back then, right?
Oh, I know, yeah.
And it was just, that's it. There's one group of people. It was like Indians. Like it was
exactly.
Indians. That was it, right? And then you discover, oh, that's not it, right?
Yeah.
like there's so much culture and depth and wealth there that we don't always understand it or know about it. You know what I mean? So I think it's always interesting when we get to see things from different parts of the world. You know, it creates more conversation. It shines the light on those things, and so it's just because there's wonderful, like these wonderful stories. I spoke to Gregory Zacharias, I think it was the name. He had a film, The Wrong Husband, which is so great. It's a really great film, and it's about these you know, it's based in like Inuit folklore. And you know, it's about promises that get made, and you know, finding love, and just all of this. And it's just like, it's, you know, different, right? It's subtitled, it's set in this different part of the world, but there's these core things that are the same. You know what I mean? So it just lets you see that we are so similar.
We're all humans, right? Exactly. It's just human. That's what's nice. That's what's the nice takeaway from all of this, is just being we're all just humans, and we've sort of adapted to our surroundings. But yeah, it's nice that our just core is the same. We have the same core fundamental desires and wants and needs. But yeah, it's going to take such different radical forms from the distance, but really we're no different.
Oh, we really are. Where did your love of storytelling come from?
I don't know. I mean, it was something I always enjoyed in school, as a sort of cliche answer, but like, I didn't really think of myself as like a defining characteristic of something I did. Never thought of myself as like a writer until I started animating, and then I had these stories, and I started writing them down and then telling them. I thought, oh, maybe I'm a writer, and maybe that was something I always thought of myself as an animator. But then I liked animation because it allowed me to tell my stories, and realizing that I think also realizing that was a skill I had, as in I thought everyone just had loads of stories and loads of ideas, and then finding out like people like, oh no, I like animation, but I just can't think of any ideas. Like, oh, okay, so maybe that is something you don't know until you sort of talk to other people, and I don't know, trying to define where a love for storytelling comes. I think everyone loves storytelling, but where it comes maybe more naturally in my head, I don't know. Must just be my influences growing up with different things I was watching, or what was catching my attention. But yeah, I have definitely always enjoyed the process of I always quite like high concept writing, like a unique setting, a unique premise on something, or a strange constraint on a world, or I have never written so I really admire people when they can write something that's just like two characters in a relationship, and that's the core of the story, is like a human story, but just like a domestic something. I've never written like that. I've always written like, I've got an exciting, cool idea for something, and it's like a almost sci-fi sometimes, and almost, but I don't know why I enjoy that so much, that like trying to think of something I've not seen before. Yeah. And so hard to say where it comes from, but it definitely exists, and it's something I've learned is something I have inherently that I think is unique to, that not necessarily everyone has. But yeah, it's me maybe being more confident with like being a writer and writing things. I think it's a big question I had when I first released Solstice, was people knowing me as an animator, but then saying like, did you write that? Like, yeah, that's also, I think I don't credit myself enough that, oh yeah, I also wrote this. I made it, but like, I also didn't just like adapt a story from something I'd seen. I was like, I wrote this story.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many ways to tell stories, right? And I think it's like being able to tap into that, to bring these things to life, is a huge skill. And when you Yeah, I mean, you just look at some people and you just think, oh shit, so they can direct, they can write, they can animate, they can just do all of these things,
Yeah.
which is just amazing, right? Because it's hard enough just doing one. So
I think though, I think with the my secret weapon is patience, I think, like, and because I think if you're just doing it by yourself and there's no budget and there's no deadline, to make something good, it's just time. It's just like keep changing it and tweaking it and tweaking it. As long as you've got the patience to do that. Like, this film has looked very different, and it's had a lot of different forms than where it ended up. But I was always willing to rewrite something or restart a process or redo something. And I don't know why, maybe I'm not giving myself credit here, but I do feel like everyone has it in them to write a good story and make a good film and be the director and be the writer. And it's if they just give it time, if they just don't give up on it, just keep working on it. And if you're not happy with it, if you're not quite sure, if you don't feel like it's quite right, probably isn't, keep working on it. And I think I seem to have that patience for whatever reason to just, keep changing it until it is good. And then, I suppose that's subjective, being good or not. But I do feel like patience is the key to being able to wear all those hats and having no deadline. There's no reason you can't just keep changing it and until you've got something that you think is good.
There is creativity though, right? Because I mean,
sure,
a lot of people could do something if they've got the patience, but also you need the creativity to be able to come up with something new, find a new way to get to someplace, because otherwise we'll just have a whole heap of the same thing.
Yeah, that's true. Good point. It's a hard one to even define, like, where does that come from? That sort of, like, if that's the lacking ingredient in why you're not making things that you're happy with, it's like, how do you manifest that? How do you conjure creativity? That's a tricky one to be like, I don't know. That might just be something that some people have more of, but I never like the answer to be some people can do it, some people can't. I always feel like anyone can do it, but it's hard to say how to get there. For everyone to have a different journey to get there. But
well, as we've seen, the advent of technology, it is allowing more people to be able to tell stories, which is interesting, So I think we are getting more voices in the world, which is great. But it's like, you need that special thing, right? You need that perseverance, you need that will, and not everyone has got that.
I think you're right with, like, tools opening up to. It was one of the things that excited me most when I first started doing 3D animation, was realizing, nothing's stopping me. I can tell these stories I have, which are slightly higher, like, concept. Maybe it's about a little alien on a planet or something like that. I wouldn't know how to make that with a camera and by myself, going out physically and doing live action. It would look terrible if I was by myself and shoot myself dressed up as a little green alien. But with animation and with 3D software, it was very exciting to realize, like, I can just do everything. This is a full movie studio in a piece of software. And that was such an exciting moment for me, realizing that. And the journey started from there to just I had all these ideas in my head, and now I had a way to, like, express those ideas and tell them. The downside being it's a very time-consuming process. It takes a long time to do it. But other outlets for that would be things like writing, so script writing, like official screenplay type writing, which I have really enjoyed. I do that in sort of as a side hobby as well. Just like, I've got other ideas that are a bit too big for me to make as a short film, or maybe they're a feature length. So that's a really therapeutic way for me to just get ideas out quickly. I can just rattle on a keyboard for an hour or so, and I've got a few scenes written, and it's, that would take me years to animate them and see their final form. But I would also add to all of this, the new advent of something that's coming in with being like generative AI feels like it's not down this same path of, like, this idea of opening up the tools so that everyone has a voice and everyone has I don't think generative AI is that. I know it seems like, oh, now anyone can make something and anyone can. It's like, yes, technically anyone can now type in their idea into some Gen AI prompt engine thing, but it's not their idea. It's like, they'll type in something and they'll get a result and they'll call it theirs. They made this thing and this is theirs. But I think when you haven't made something by yourself or as a team, and you haven't, as a team of creatives working with traditional tools, made something, you really don't appreciate how much thought and care and attention goes into every single thing that's on the screen. Like that's all been placed there by someone. That's all been intentionally designed. You have to think about, oh, we're gonna have a house in the background. Oh, what kind of house is it? Why is it that kind of house? What's the sort of siding? What's the color? How many windows? You know, all these decisions, especially in 3D animation, where you do have control of all of that. But when you just generate something, you think it's yours because you told it what to do, but it's giving you 90% of that, and your idea was sort of 10%, and it just filled in all those vague blanks that weren't your decisions, and it made decisions for you. And I don't know, I worry that we're going to enter this phase of people feeling like they're making something that's theirs, and it's not theirs. It's been given to them. And yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily continuing this journey of adding voices to the conversation of creating film, because that has the suggestion that like that person made it with their own craft and their own voice and their own vision. If those new people coming to the party didn't really make it and are calling it theirs, then I'm like, I don't really think we live in the same space. You know. Anyway, so that's just a current thought I've been having about generative AI.
No, I think it's fair, and also when you understand what AI is, when creating something and getting it to write something, it's not writing or drawing or building anything from thin air, right? It trolls the internet and it's taking references from all over the place to do what you want. So it's not necessarily an original thing.
No.
But I think there's a load of people think AI is going to be the death kill of cinema, of storytelling. I don't think it is, right?
No.
I think there is something in original stories. There is something in the creative process of just like this conversation, talking to you about making Solace. There's something in that, right? There's a magic, hearing the passion you have for this work. That's a big thing. And when you look at, right, a load of people thought sampling might kill music.
Yeah.
Like it hasn't, because we have these great producers that come up with these beats, man. Like I just think Ninth Wonder always comes to mind. Like the way he creates something is incredible. And I remember on Jay-Z's 444 album, he sampled Can't Touch This, MC Hammer. But he just did that. It wasn't even the do.
Right. Just the most basic.
Just a little. If you know the song and you listen, you might get it, right? But there's a load of people that probably didn't even know he sampled.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between that and I can't remember if it was Wycliffe or Praz, but they sampled. It was literally just a lifted loop.
Yeah, I see. Got it. Yeah, you're just taking it and not making something new.
To me, that's lazy. That's boring. Now, I know the song did well. It sold numbers. People enjoyed it. But it's a lazier form of production. You know what I mean? It's like you look at it and you go, oh, that's not your song.
Yeah.
Right? And that can be AI. Like, you know what I mean? You can look at an AI thing and you know that's not That's
I
not
think
a
an
real
analogy.
thing.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think an analogy that gives me hope. Because we're still exploring what consumers or viewers want and what they respond to with regards to AI. And obviously, there's a lot of backlash when something is AI. We don't inherently like it. It's got that sort of uncanny. But that's just current technology.
Yeah.
That might get better. We might not be able to tell in 10 years, 5 years, whatever. But I think sort of a good analogy is what's happened with chess, whether you know chess or not. But like chess, a couple of decades ago now, or maybe, a couple of decades ago, was outsmarted by machines, not necessarily AI, but like just, very clever algorithms, got beyond the point of human skill and will never be surpassed again. Like it will always be better than it's only gotten better, and humans will never be better at chess than machines. But we don't watch two machines play chess. We don't go, I mean, if you watch chess at all, you watch the sort of grandmasters playing each other over the board or even online playing. That's what people go and watch. That's what people are interested in. They don't, even though the technically best game of chess you could watch is between two like supercomputers and just watching them make their moves. No one watches that. We're interested in, even though it's maybe not as high quality, and the or even quality is another out the question. Even there's something, knowing it's two humans playing it and there's a battle, something you can relate to as another human. You can sort of put yourself in their position, or you can imagine it. And there's something about it that I'm hoping that will be true too of film and TV and the arts, is that just knowing it's the human made it will inherently be something as like a factor that you need as an ingredient to enjoy the art, to be able to consume the art. There's an ingredient there that has to be human, and it's otherwise we will just fundamentally not enjoy it or not draw anything from it, because the whole point of art is human. It's like a human somehow expressing something into the world. If that's taken away and we've just got pretty pictures with no soul, it's like goes back to the start of what you're saying, it's this husk with no soul. It's like that is what AI is. It's just like this shell of a thing is pretending to be art, but it's just, there's no human there. There's no craft. And I think that's what's missing, and that will always be missing. And I think as long as we can still tell, and I think we will be able to, even if visually it looks the same, we'll still be able to tell fundamentally at the sort of the lack of human in the machine. Anyway, that's my hope, and that is my also prediction, is that it will always lack that quality that art requires.
No, definitely. It's the nuance, right? I think if you can type in a prompt, right, and I think AI could come up with a rom-com.
Sure.
Right? But it will be equivalent of, you know what I mean, that cheaper Netflix film, that Hallmark channel, by the numbers kind of thing. You're not gonna get AI create something like Eternal Sunshine, like Rye Lane, like Juno, like Love Jones. AI ain't gonna do that, right? AI is a cover band. You know what I'm saying? We love the original artist, but maybe, you know what I mean, you couldn't get tickets, right?
Yeah, that's true.
You might go to the pub and listen to a cover band, right? That's AI. AI is a cover band.
That's good.
Oh man, Luke. This has been great. I've really enjoyed talking to you about your film and filmmaking and all of this jazz, man. Like,
likewise, it's been a lovely chat, and I love this conversation and just being a nice open fluid chat about stuff and film and art. It's great.
When will you know about the BAFTAs?
So I've got a screening down in London this weekend coming up, where it's the official sort of BAFTA screening, where it's I think some of the voting members are in the audience, and I'm doing a Q&A after the screening. I think there's still tickets available for it. And then the weekend after is the actual BAFTA ceremony. So I'll be down in London again for the actual event, and then find out, live at the event if I win. Or I mean, I genuinely, just being at the BAFTAs is an award enough for this film. This little film I made by myself, and now we get to go to the BAFTAs. It already feels like a bit of a privileged position to be in. So I know the experience itself is going to be incredible, regardless of the outcome. So. Yeah.
Well,
cool.
Watching the film, You know what I mean? Like the emotional impact it has on you. I'd feel that, you know what I mean? Maybe start writing that speech, man. Maybe start writing that speech, you know what I mean?
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm all too aware of the other two films in the category and how good they are, so that's what's holding me back. But if it seems like I'm improving on it, if I win, then you'll know it. I didn't prep anything.
Oh dear. And how can people watch this?
Yeah, so right now we're running an exclusive view online through Animation Magazine. So if you go to Animation Magazine's website, you can watch Solstice for the next week. It's available, and then it will be offline again. So I think to give a date, I believe it's right up until the BAFTAs. So it's going to be up until the 20th, I believe, of February. You can screen and watch Solstice online on Animation Magazine's website. After that, I don't know. We'll see how I release and when and where.
Okie dokie.
But it will, I mean, also possibly my YouTube channel. That's where you can see all the updates, which is Luke Angus Animator. That's where I will post. That's where they've got a couple trailers on there. There's a behind the scenes, there's a making of video, stuff like that you can watch.
Yeah, no, that's like, because I think that's a big thing, right? Since, you know, we've moved away from videos and DVDs and Blu-rays and all of this jazz.
You don't get all the nice making of stuff.
Yeah. So
yeah, I know.
Have you always been conscious of that? Like,
I've always wanted to do it. It's the first time I've done it for this film. My previous film, I didn't do it, and I always wish I had. But it was more just time. I was maybe too eager to get on to the next film that I didn't want to spend all this time making a sort of behind the scenes making of video. But yeah, I put this together. Spent the time on this one and documented the process a bit more. And it was, I love watching it back to just remind myself of the process of all the stages I went through. And yeah, I'm glad this film has an accompanying making of. It's only a 10-minute little feature, but yeah, it's fun to make.
No, that's great, man. That's great. So yeah, you've got the YouTube. How else can people keep track of everything?
Yeah, Instagram is the other one. So just same Luke Angus Animator on Instagram, and that's where I'll post all my updates, and you'll see me at the BAFTAs over there. Yeah, get a selfie with Timmy Chalamet. We'll see.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. Well, people, all the links will be on the webpage for this episode, so make sure you go check out the film, man. Definitely check out the film. It is it's tremendous. It's a tremendous, wonderful little story. So you do want to do that, and then go follow Luke, right? Because hey, if he can, you know, kill it like this, what else can he do? Right. So you definitely want to keep track and see, because yeah, it sounds like you've got other things in the fire that should be. When could we maybe see the next thing?
Yeah, so the next film is in production. Like I said, I finished the sort of 6-minute previs of the film. I don't know. It's really hard for me to say because it's just something I do when I've got the time. When I've got a spare few hours, I'll jump on and progress the film a bit. Then I might go weeks without having those spare few hours with just life doing its life stuff. And so you never know. It's just, it might be, I mean, I had a vague target of this summer, but I'm already feeling like that's slipping away. So it might be this year might be a good target, but even that I'm not promising anything. If I need to rewrite the film and start again for whatever reason, I need to feel like I can without having some commitment to some date. So if I was to have plain sailing from here until summer, I could finish it by the summer, but it won't be plain sailing.
No. Okay. But whenever the next film is ready, Luke, please come by and let's have another conversation.
I'd love that. Yeah, this has been great. Thank you so much, Gavin. Appreciate it.
No worries, man. Hey, good luck with the BAFTAs. And I really can't wait to see what you do next, because Solstice is a wonderful film. So congratulations on that. And yeah, thanks again for stopping by, man.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. It's been great.
No worries. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day, Luke.
Cheers, mate. Cheers. Bye-bye.